What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Acceptable Accuracy Podcast. I'm Philip, and I'm running solo today as your host for this podcast. The schedule for Tyler and I for the summer has become extremely busy, so we want to continue to produce this podcast, but provide content even if we're unable to get together to create that content and talk about this. Anyway, I believe Tyler's actually going to be talking about his trip down to Guyana recently and some hunting that he actually did down there, which I didn't even know was a thing. I won't spoil it. Needless to say, it'll either be the previous episode or the next episode, depending on whoever gets to upload first. But for today, I am going to talk about firearms community, how to find it, how to build it, and the next steps that you can take in your firearms community journey. So why am I talking about firearms community and why is it important? Well, we in the hobby, while there's a lot of firearms owners in the United States, not everyone is into the community, into building the community, or into finding others that are like them that like to go beyond just the traditional shooting, right? And some people want to, but don't know where to go from there. I see a lot of posts on Reddit, like, where do I find clubs? How do I find people to shoot with? There's a need out there to connect with other people that share that interest with you. I think that there's this shift, and I don't want to beat this too much up, but there's this shift in our culture away from doing things with people that are tangible and going into online experiences that are not real. And what I mean by that is like those Instagram posts, Facebook posts, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. That's all highly choreographed material. And while it can be really great to consume, especially when it comes from a knowledge perspective, there's an air of unrealistic expectation when it comes to how people are actually living their lives. And maybe I say that wrong, but you only tend to see the good stuff that people put on Instagram. Like, man, that person must be living this crazy life of excitement, fun, friends, and activities, right? But the truth is that they produce that content typically for followers or likes or comments. And I'm not saying it's bad, because it is entertainment if you look at it like that. But the problem is that when people see all that, they think that they'll never have real experiences like those and just kind of give up and then continue to just, doom scroll on their phone. Anyway, one of the ways I think we can avoid that, and why I personally like shooting so much, is because of the community and getting out and doing things with other people and having experiences that are real and tangible. Now, we're not the only community that does this. There are plenty of other communities when it comes to sports. I think of those who play like baseball on church leagues, or that have soccer leagues, or, even with kids that play sports, they get to know each other, make friendships, and also the parents have friendships that they've developed along with that as well too. Creating those real experiences, be in person, get outside, and to do things. So it doesn't really matter what it is that you do. It just so happens that I personally chose to have the shooting community be one of the communities that I'm a part of. Now, for those of you who know me, I also have other communities I'm part of as well too. It was brought up in the past, but I was a contestant on the Fox reality show Lego Masters season 2, and I still very much do a lot of stuff within the Lego community. And I know it seems like a weird thing to be into Lego and into firearms, and I think it's just the engineer side of me that likes both of those, and one happens to be an artistic output and one happens to be more of a physical skill-based output. But I love them both probably just equally, and I love the communities equally as well. And they're very different communities. But one of them is a hobby that we spend a lot more time outside typically, and that's with the firearms community. So when I first got into firearms, it was a gentleman from my previous employer that took me out shooting, and I'd never been shooting before, and I loved it. And as a result, I would go out shooting with him, and then more people from work got into it and went out shooting with us more and more. Well, at some point, I realized that this was something I was really personally into, and I really wanted to find more people that were like me. And I know there's a lot of joke in the firearms community, and I don't mean this to be critical, but a lot of people in IT, are not critical, but to be flippant, people like get autistic about firearms. And a lot of people in IT, probably myself included, are somewhere on the spectrum. So it's not mean to be mean or cut or anything, but I definitely, like when I get into something, I tend to really get into it. And I've been into firearms now for probably 15 years or so. Anyway, one of the goals I had was to start getting involved with a shooting sport. And it took me a while to find a club that could handle the type of shooting that I liked to do and had a large enough membership base that I knew I could start building building those relationships and start becoming part of a community. So I know we've talked about it before, but our local club is South Kent Sportsman's Club, and they are West Michigan area known for having multiple shooting sports, from the traditional pistol sports that are like USPSA, IDPA, Steel Challenge, which obviously all those now you can shoot rifle in as well too. But they also offer different clay sports from trap and skeet as well on top of that. So I, at the time, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Well, for me, I started looking at what the options were. I started doing some research on YouTube, like I mentioned before, what looked fun. So I knew that at the time, and it probably still is, pistol shooting was my weakest competency. So I was like, all right, I'm going to try to get better at this. So I found USPSA. I found the website. They had like, hey, these are when we shoot USPSA. This is the, third Saturday of the month. We shoot USPSA at the club. It required to do a one-on-one class ahead of time. So went through that, did that, and then started shooting with people. And naturally, you kind of start shooting with the people that are, either the match directors or that ran the safety class, for example. So that's kind of how I found the community. And then as you get to know people and shoot with them, you get to find the individuals that are within the community that have those same, not we all like to shoot, right? We all like guns, right? And typically we tend to be more on the conservative side of the political spectrum. Not saying that that's everyone, but you tend to, even within that, you can find subgroups of people that are a lot like you. So over time, I started shooting Steel Challenge as well, shoot some IDPA, and would start finding these individuals that I really like to spend a lot of time with and continue to squad with those individuals. We jokingly say in the USPSA that our squad is a fun squad because we were typically always kind of goofing off, having a good time, and never really taking ourselves overly serious. So that's the kind of people that I like to hang out with. We obviously take our training seriously. We've heard our previous episodes on the Wolverine 5K. But I'm outside, I'm enjoying my time, and I'm with some people that have some very similar views to me, and it's refreshing to be there, enjoy the freedoms that Second Amendment give us. And I ended up settling on that group. Eventually, over time, those group of individuals, again, you've met some of them on the podcast previously, Brent and Daryl, Kyle, Paul, and then, of course, we picked up Tyler along the way, too. And those are just a few people to name that we've squatted with in USPSA and started to do stuff outside even of that event with. Anyway, so that type of people, we start attracting other people into our squad as well that are very similar. And we've developed this squad within our local USPSA match and created this community. So what does this kind of get you? What does this community get you? And honestly, that's not necessarily a great question to ask, but it's one of those things where it's like when you give time and you do something that you love and put the time and passion into that you're actually giving more into it than you're probably getting out of it, right? And you're giving into building relationships with other people, building them up, and encouraging them through their journey of shooting, and even just helping out in life beyond that. So the most important thing that I've discovered is that it gets you outside. And I know Tyler and I talk a lot about getting out and like touching grass, right? And the concept of interacting with our world around us instead of being inside all day. And I'm not saying that's bad to be inside, especially when it's really cold or really hot out. And, if you're going to veg out and watch TV shows like once or twice a night or once or twice a week, that's probably fine. I personally don't choose to do that because I'm podcasting. Anyway, again, it's just that experience of being outside and creating those tangible friendships, those real friendships that you can rely on. So once you build those, you have the relationships, you build the community, you get involved with your club. The next question that you should be asking yourself is, how can I continue to give back? Because then you're going to create that investment in the hobby, in your local club, and the people that are around you. And that kind of selfless giving will not only help the club and others that are there, but it'll also help you. Because I will tell you, in the world that we are in today, there's a lot of selfishness out there. And I think that creates a lot of like self-loathing eventually. People asking, what can everybody else do for me? What can the government do for me? What can these businesses do for me? Realistically, you should be asking what you can do for other people. And there's many ways of doing that, volunteering, but this is just one of those ways that you can give back, is helping out your local sportsman's club, because they tend to run on shoestring budgets and they rely on the club members to help out. So one of the ways that you can help out, one of the ways I've helped out as well, is with matches. So whether it's doing registration, ROing, running, helping set up large matches, helping run the large matches that may be in the area, getting your RO certification so that you can help run not only just local matches, but also run the matches that may be like a level 2, level 3 type match for USPSA, for example. Because all those, again, they run on volunteerism. So in addition to that, one of the biggest things is the setup crew. Now, I wish I could do more of this. With large matches, I tend to be able to help out because it's usually the week in advance. But we have a huge dedicated crew of people that we've talked about in the past that help set that up. So if you're available, find out, help set up. Because I'll tell you, we all appreciate when we show up day of and have this fantastic match for us to get into and shoot through the match. Anyway, beyond matches and helping out with whatever it is that you're maybe interested in, again, if it's skeet shooting or IDPA, USPSA, 3-gun, whatever it may be. If you're on the club, volunteer your skill sets. So if you happen to be fantastic mechanically or construction, when projects come up, say, hey, I'll step in and I'll help out. Same thing applies for like if you're into leadership. There's always need to have people on the board. I love South Kent Sportsman's Club, and there's a fantastic members of the board. But I know they're always looking to get younger people on the board because it's tough to get people who are typically working, full-time. Not seeing people on the board aren't working full-time, but they tend to be empty nesters or retired. And they need those younger individuals, especially, to be on the board to help out, to get new ideas in. And that's something I know that South Kent has tried to strive for in the past. Anyway, so then beyond that, one of the biggest things you can do is help bring other people into the shooting sports. So Tyler and I kind of mentioned this before, but when you got into shooting sports, there was probably those few individuals that really helped guide you and encourage you into the sport, showing up for a match and saying, I have no clue what I'm doing here, other than I've read the rules, I've watched some videos online, I did the safety class ahead of time, I may have my concealed carry permit or whatever it is. But take those individuals that show up on those matches that maybe either they're showing up to shoot the first time or they're there to observe. Like, peel off. The squad's not going to mind if you don't pace for a few rounds. Peel off and talk to those people. Answer their questions. Explain to them how everything works. walk them through how, if somebody's shooting a stage, show them what they're doing, why they're doing it. Because honestly, beyond bringing more people into sport, which keeps the sport alive, helps grow it, especially younger individuals, helps bring that next generation in. Every time you bring somebody in and take them to that next level of firearms ownership, into mastering that firearm, not only are you creating somebody who is a more proficient, more safe shooter, but you're also potentially bringing in other individuals that are then going to become, and they probably are, but at least they're going to continue to look at the Second Amendment and its value, and they're going to vote in that direction so that we can all continue to enjoy our firearms rights. And I will also put a note in here too, that we've had people that show up that are definitely politically opposed to what I typically believe in, and we always treat them with respect. The Second Amendment is something that we are all, as citizens of the United States, that we are all granted. Some people say it's a God-given right for personal defense. And while they may not at the time agree with us what we do, there's always the opportunity to grow their minds and change the way that they're thinking as well too. And I'm not asking you to get political, but I'm asking you to understand, help them understand why there's a Second Amendment out there. And that it's not just for hunting, it's not just for sport shooting, but again, it's there for the defense of a tyrannical government. And again, we always say, what does the Second Amendment provides or helps defend the First Amendment? But anyway, that's the other thing too to consider, is that a lot of times with the USPSA, when I first started, there were a lot of dudes that shot it. And now there's a lot of ladies out there that have showed up at the match that want to learn how to shoot, want to become proficient shooters for whatever reason it may be. I'm not going to assume anything, but be open to them and get them into the sport, because it's not just for dudes. And there will always probably be dominantly guys that shoot it, but man, get them in, have them have a fun time shooting it. One of my favorite people in our club, I won't name her name just because I don't know if she wants us to put it out there or not, but man, she's probably in her mid 70s and she's a fantastic shooter. She decided when she retired, she wanted to come out and shoot, and I see her at matches all the time, and we usually catch up and chit chat. All right. So beyond all this and creating the community, I kind of want to close with the thoughts of not necessarily why, but the importance of community. Again, you're never going to know when you need some help from somebody. You're never going to know when you want to pursue relationships that are truly valuable and that people that you can trust. Because I can tell you what, when you're around shooting people that are around shooting firearms, you're trusting that individual to be safe when you're around them. And I always kind of judge people on how safe they are based on their, and it kind of helps with their personality. And it's something I know that I want to be around because they're respectful of not only themselves, by not causing damage, actually shooting themselves or, causing damage to the club or whatever it may be, but they respect you as well too by trying to be as safe as possible. Anyway, all that to say, we need community and we need individuals to hang out with and do things outside of work, outside of our television, outside of Facebook, outside of Instagram, whatever it may be. We need those relationships because that's what community is based on. And that's what our world is based on. And it really helps us rely on each other, not just our government, which I'm sure they would love you to do so. Anyway, all that to say, get out there, find your local community, go on, do a Google search, find out what clubs are around you. Check on Facebook too. People tend to post matches. If you're opposed to all those platforms, Practice Score is actually a fantastic way to find local clubs that are running local matches. You can go in there, figure out what sport you want to participate in, and then filter off based on that. Set the geographic area to around where you live and hit search, and you'll be able to find a match that's coming up that you can stop out to and meet some cool people to hang out with. Anyway, in closing, Dad advice for this podcast, this episode of this podcast is kind of around community and around hanging out with other individuals, but be real for other people. Don't be fake. People are not perfect. We will never be perfect. And people always want to pretend like they're the best, they're doing the greatest, everything is super well. But be real, be yourself. And obviously we don't dump a bunch of, challenges on people that you don't know quite yet. Build those relationships first. But people don't want to be around fake individuals. They want to know that they can trust you and that they can share stuff with you as well too. And that's how those real relationships are really built. That's how community is really built. So again, be real. And with that, this is probably going to be one of our shorter podcasts, and that's just fine because we're not shooting the breeze with Tyler on the podcast that usually eats up like 20 minutes. Anyway, we'll check you all later, and I hope that you enjoyed this little side quest, if you want to call it, of podcast. And we'll see you on the next one.